Today is Easter Sunday, so happy Easter for those of you who worship. And since I've been on the road a lot lately, like, oh my gosh, I haven't even been home. It just felt so good, coming home, worshiping today with my family, and just realizing that I have so much to be really thankful for. And so, of course, I had Easter heavy on my mind today and just thinking about the real meaning of Easter. And so my favorite book, the Bible, tells the story of how, Jesus died on the cross. And obviously he died on the cross so that sins may be forgiven. And then on the third day he rose again. So Easter is also known as Resurrection Sunday, which brings me to the topic of this call. Resurrection. So resurrection is the definition. The definition of resurrection is actually to bring back to life. Okay? So to restore, to redeem. Now, I'm not pushing my beliefs onto anyone, but if you are not a person of faith, please do not allow the names or this message to be blocked. Follow me here for a minute, okay? So the first thing I want to remind you of is that you are your biggest preacher. So who do you hear the most? You hear yourself the most. If you're complaining all the time, how does that affect you? You hear yourself the most. And so because you are your biggest preacher, it's important to remind yourself that you are born and empowered to do great things. And I think so many times with the world, we hear all these demeaning things about ourselves, but nobody ever really reminds us that we are empowered, that we are great, right? And so sometimes we might get a little bit down on ourselves. So for me, although I'm my biggest preacher, I'm also my biggest critic. So when things aren't really going great, I am the hardest on myself. Like nobody ever needs to be hard on me. I'm super hard on me. So sometimes we aren't where we want to be, and, we let the failure within us affect the future that is also within us, right? So one thing I learned from my pastor a couple of years ago that she would always say is that whatever you cannot afford to lose, do not talk ugly to it, okay? But whatever you need to get rid of it swiftly and never look back, because God will always restore. And so many times we'll get rid of things or we'll get rid of people and then we second guess and we go back to it because it's comfortable. And a lot of times that comfort and that familiarity will end up screwing you up, because once you release something, that's it. You're not supposed to touch it again. Something will be restored out of that. So as of recent, I started to just reflect on where my life should be, and I'll be very transparent on this call. I was very frustrated and battling, with my business, with this rank, because it was almost like, I'm stuck at this rank. It's been a while that I'm kind of stuck at this rank, yet I'm also battling with it because I'm supposed to be grateful because I do live an amazing life. And I live really great, and I have so many blessings because of this amazing opportunity. So that was something that I was, recently struggling with. And then most recently, just things have been really booming for me. I have been so blessed, it's not even funny. So I entered a really amazing winning season, and I was thinking of the changes, like what happened within that journey of being super frustrated, and then now, boom, things are happening for me. And so I was just thinking of the changes that I made that led up to this season and this immense joy that I've been feeling lately. And I realized I sacrificed a lot in between that journey, right? So before you enter your season of resurrection, I'm telling you that it's going to require sacrifice. So you need to ask yourself, what's your sacrifice? When you're thinking of sacrifices, are your sacrifices only for you, or are your sacrifices for you and also for someone else to prosper? You cannot expect to be the same person if you're entering a new realm of blessings. So that's a requirement. It's almost like law. So maybe what's holding you back, like a lot of times we'll say, oh, this person held me back, or this person's a hater, or I have no support from this. We justify and give all these excuses as to what's potentially holding us back. But maybe it's not anything else that's holding you back. Maybe it's just the fact that you never really made an attempt to change, right? So ask yourself, what paradigms are you shifting? What are you keeping the same? We stay on the call every week. I'll give you an example. We stay on the call every week. Read these 4 core books. So you listen to the calls. You're out here showing. You're doing travel parties. You're doing personals. You're grinding. You're working. I get that. You're definitely working your business. But you're not really getting the results that you want. So like, what's happening there? And I wonder how many people on this call, that listen to these calls have actually taken the time to read those books, because it's something that you hear every single week. It's said every single week. So what have you sacrificed? They were recommended for a reason. And on top of that, they were recommended from people who have the things that you want. So mentally, you're the same person, but you want different results physically, right? So I'm here to tell you that, you have to really take a look at the things that you're not willing to sacrifice. So not every loss is a loss. And some things you have to lose because God will use that very same thing that you thought was a loss to resurrect something greater in you. So some of you will allow a situation that God put in your life and you'll wallow in it. You'll pretty much allow it to paralyze you, and you don't even realize it's that same thing that God put into your life that you think is coming to destroy you, that it's coming there to actually grow you. A lot of times he will put you in situations just to see if you're willing to sacrifice, because God can't use what you're not willing to change. And that's tough for us to really hear that message. There's some things where we got to look and we got to say, it's not everybody else, it's me. So next month, I'll give you another example. I'll be traveling to Thailand. I'm so excited. I'll be going with my best friend, National Marketing Director Tara Davis, and my 2 amazing boys. And so when I'm in Thailand, as I enter Thailand, I'm going to have to use their money, right? I'm going to have to use their currency. So in order to do that, I have to now convert my U.S. dollars into whatever their money is when I get there. So if everything is a constant change and conversion in order to enter a new destination, what makes you think that you can enter a new place and yet stay the same? Like that it doesn't make sense. And sometimes you have to just make it black and white like that. So don't pray and ask God for what you want if you're not willing to sacrifice and change who you are. Everything is levels. So grow into someone different for exactly what you ask God to do, because he cannot make you this person if you're not willing to sacrifice something. As a matter of fact, I'll share this with you as well. At the end of last year, I was having some health concerns, and I had gained a lot of weight. I would legit wake up in the middle of the night and have all these really bad stomach cramps. And it's almost that thing where you're going through something and you kind of don't want to go to the doctor because you don't want to find out what it is. And it's so funny because I went to my doctor a year before and they said to me, oh, you have a gluten allergy. And I just ignored it and wrote it off I don't have that. I'm crazy this way. All these fake allergies. All of a sudden, you have to hear me. All these kids are allergic to nuts. When I grew up, nobody was allergic to nuts, eggs, this, that. This is who I am. I'm just being open and honest, right? So when I went to the doctor, I was told that there were a lot of things going on, health-wise with me that needed to get brought to attention right away, and things that I needed to change. And it required my eating habits. And I was ignoring a gluten allergy, which was crazy. But also I was under a lot of stress, which was heightening the effects of this gluten allergy. So now here I am, and they're telling me all these words like irritable bowel syndrome, all these other things. And I was just sitting there so upset with myself, and I really had to mentally check myself. I'm Puerto Rican, so if you tell me I can't eat carbs, I'm going to look at you like you have 5 heads, because that's what I eat. It's bagels for breakfast, muffins, sandwich for lunch, rice and beans at night, pasta, that carbs is life. And so I had this conversation with myself girl, you're really doing all of this to you and to your health because you can't let go of gluten and carbs? Really, Lily? So I had to tell myself, Lily, Stop making food your God. God is God, not food. You're this big, bad, successful Lily, but you're really going to let food control your destiny. Yes, I have these conversations with myself. I swear to you I do. So I'm here talking to myself and reasoning with myself. And so I made the decision to get my life together and get my stuff together, let go. And sure enough, I did 30 days with no carbs. Why am I getting feed? Sorry about that. I just muted it. So I did 30 days with no carbs. And at first I didn't even think that I could do 30 days with no carbs. However, after I did the 30 days, it's like I got this strength, and I was like, yo, I can do more. Like, I'm not even going to go back to something that's going to make me sick. Let me just keep going. This is going to have to be a lifestyle change. And so I've been very blessed that I've been able to drop over 20 pounds. And it's crazy because I started feeling so much better. I started feeling so much more energetic. And something that I thought was nearly impossible to do now became a breeze for me. Now, I'm going to take it a step further. By the same token, I had to look in other areas of my life that weren't serving me because the doctor said it is also stress. So I'm like, what am I stressed about? You know? And what's crazy is that I'm that type of person that I don't really think I'm stressed about something. But a lot of times you don't think you're stressing about something until your body tells you what's really happening internally. And so I said, God, what do I need to let go of? Because if I let go of this, and I thought I could never do this food thing, then there has to be something else, you know. And I realized certain friendships had to go, and that was really hard for me to realize. And certain people or just things weren't serving me, and they were draining me. And so this year, the hardest thing that I had to let go of was my marriage. In January, yes, I filed for divorce. And it was hard because I wanted to have that image and I wanted to have that beautiful family. And people would constantly tell me on Instagram, oh, my God, you know, your family goals and your family is amazing and all these things. But internally, it wasn't what I needed for me. And that was such a hard thing to come to grasp with. And, you know, I said, you know what, this is really not serving me. So I kept thinking to myself, well, I'm scared. I'm scared to let go of my marriage. Why? Oh, because of my children. But you know what? My children also deserve to see a happy mom. And so it was so scary to leave something that I was in for 19 years. But I also know that you can't have faith and fear. You cannot serve two gods. So faith was telling me, you're good. I got you. Faith was telling me I can't turn my back on the promises of God and go back to what's familiar. So the sacrifice of losing my marriage had to be made, because if the sacrifice of losing my marriage wasn't in place, then that means that my sanity was now the sacrifice. And I had to put myself first. I'm not going to be the sacrifice. So because I sacrificed that, ironically, just afterwards, like, my business started taking off. Things started happening for my team. They were popping ranks. You know, I just decided to put God first in the season. I was able to write a book in 2 weeks at that, get it expedited. This book will empower other people. Like, everything in my life for me and my kids just started blossoming. My children were receiving awards. Like, I'm talking about favor in such a crazy way. But it's because I sacrificed something that I thought I couldn't let go. And sure enough, God restored. So I want to tell you this, and the reason I was able to share something so intimate with you is because I wanted you to know that it's turnaround time. So you have to ask yourself, what's your turning point where you refuse to stay the same? Everyone has that turning point. What are you going to hand over to God or to your past and leave it there? So you have to say to yourself today, you know what? I'm going to hand over fear. I'm going to hand over depression. I'm going to hand over laziness. I'm going to hand over insecurity. I'm going to hand over debt. I'm going to hand it over, finally, whatever it is, so that I can be free. So for this Easter, I want you to be reminded that something so simple, they destroyed the temple, and Jesus said, I'm going to build it back up. right? I want you to be reminded that he sacrificed. I want you to be reminded that he was put on a cross, but in 3 days he was resurrected. So you're about to enter your winning season, but it cannot happen without a sacrifice. Trust and believe that once you make the sacrifice, your resurrection, your restoration is waiting. So ask yourself, what are the things that need to die on this cross today that I'm so terrified to let go of, but something that much greater is going to resurrect? I'm going to operate in that much faith that I know that my dreams and my desires are not going to be on paralyzing mode anymore, because my faith is going to be that much greater. I'm going to walk into my restoration. I'm going to walk into my resurrection, because it is my winning season. And I really hope that this message resonated with even just at least one person today, and that you were blessed by this. So with that being said, I hope you guys have a happy Easter. God bless you guys, and thank you for having me on this call. Good night.